Let's see it. Time now is 11 minutes past 7. We'll have the sport and the weather for you a little later on.
Let's talk Brexit. It's dominating the papers this morning. The Guardian's reporting on the result of the last night's votes in the Commons. The Guardian headline pretty much says it all. Parliament finally has its say. No, 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 no. Indicating MPs rejected all 8 alternative Brexit options.
Daily Telegraph saying more than 20 Conservatives who opposed Theresa May's deal have now said they would back it after she promised to stand down if the deal was passed.
The Daily Mirror's headline, "The End of May," points to speculation that the Prime Minister would leave office by the 22nd of May if Parliament backed her deal.
And Brexit, of course, on all the front pages today on the Mail. They're wondering, will her sacrifice be in vain? As it points out that Mrs May failed to win the crucial support. This was announced late yesterday, wasn't it? Northern Ireland's Democratic Unionist Party, DUP, saying they still are opposed to her deal. They're crucial in getting it through.
So how has Theresa May's announcement gone down in Westminster? Well, joining us now is Sherelle Jacobs from The Telegraph and Sonia Sodha from The Observer. Good morning to you both. It's been a brilliant time, I suppose, to be a political journalist at this moment in time, but it is confusing. And just tell me your take now after all 8 proposals were rejected. Sonia.
Well, no one was really expecting any of the proposals last night to get a majority, so it was a bit of a damp squib, but I still think it was really significant in terms of giving us some clues about what might come next. And for me, there were sort of 2 or 3 really significant things to come out of last night. The first is that it was a confirmatory referendum that got the most votes out of anything last night. And I think that's quite interesting because it shows that there's possibly more support in Parliament for a referendum than a lot of people thought. And to me, it shows something very clear, which is there's a clear route for May to get her deal through Parliament. If she were to compromise and say, vote for my deal, MPs, I'll put it to referendum afterwards, I think she would get it through. I think the other really interesting thing is that there wasn't as much support as people were predicting for a very soft Brexit, what people refer to as Common Market 2.0. So I think that maybe sort of takes that option out of the running. And then I think the third thing was that there were sort of a rump of MPs who voted for a no-deal outcome. And within that group, there will be a number of Conservative MPs who I think will never really vote for Theresa May deal. So it's very, very hard to see how she gets it through Parliament without making some kind of compromise on a referendum. Otherwise, I think we're going to be in sort of crisis for some time yet to come.
Well, that's the point, Sherelle, isn't it? That in order for this MV3, meaningful vote 3, to be brought back, it has to be substantially or significantly different for the Speaker to allow it.
Yes, and even if the Speaker were to allow it, it still wouldn't get through. The DUP have said that they are not going to back it without changes to the backstop. Even after Boris announced his dramatic switch last night, I had ERG sources texting me, talking to me, telling me that there were 30 unwaverers still. And that's not to mention sort of around 10 Tory Remainer MPs who will not back the deal because they are holding out for a second referendum. The maths are not even good on the Labour side because I think had the DUP not made their announcement yesterday, attention would have been on the Labour MPs, and I think maybe at maximum there's about 20 that would back her deal. So the maths still look very, very bad for Theresa May, even after she offered her resignation practically on a plate yesterday, dramatically, at the 1922 committee. I think this deal is now dead as a dodo. We are looking at either a no-deal exit or a longer extension, which risks us having no Brexit at all.
So when,
I mean, it's very scary times for the country.
To both of you, when you say that you think this deal is dead in the water, when are we told? What's the process now? When does she admit, or the Conservative Party admits, this is dead in the water now, and we have to look at alternatives? When does that happen?
Well, I don't think it's going to be dead in the water for another sort of another few days yet. So, you know, there's still the possibility that she's going to bring this back to Parliament if the Speaker lets her, or there's a chance that she might find some way around it. And I think it's too early to rule it out altogether that she might find a way to get support for her deal. But I think, as I said, it has to come from something pretty dramatic now. And that is basically her saying, yes, I'll put it, if you pass it, I'll put it to a referendum. So I think it's too early to say it's dead in the water. But I do think that it would be very out of character for her to take a drastic action like the one I've just discussed. But then Theresa May's done some pretty drastic things in the past that she said she was never going to do. For example, call a general election.
Sherelle?
Yeah, I mean, the indications aren't good in terms of polling if her deal were to be put to the country. If anything, the latest Comres poll finds that 46% of people think that a no-deal outcome would be okay in the end. About 40% even support the revoking of Article 50. There is no majority in any constituency for her deal, so I don't think that it would be very successful in a referendum. And I think that the Prime Minister knows that. I think that this Prime Minister knows that this is over now. I wouldn't be surprised if we were to hear a resignation announcement very soon, even before the week is out.
Tomorrow?
And perhaps we will hear a resignation from the Prime Minister tomorrow. I wouldn't be surprised at this point, because looking at the arithmetic, looking at how views in Parliament are hardening, especially after last night when we learned not only is there no appetite for Theresa May's deal, but there is no appetite for any other deal as an alternative. The camps are now forming. It is either no deal or it is stopping Brexit, either through revoking Article 50.
Very quick reaction.
I do sort of disagree with that, because I think no one expected anything last night to get a majority, because the way that the votes were structured, it was sort of yes, no on a number of options. I think the really significant thing will come next Monday, when MPs are expected to get the chance to rank different options in preference order. And there, I think you could see more of a majority emerge, potentially in favour of a referendum on May's deal.
Okay, we could talk. How long could we talk for? A long time, I think. Sherelle Jacobs, Sonia Sodha, thank you so much for joining us.
Let's see.